Hello everyone, I am Ms. CAA Chapter, Department of Civil Engineering. So in last lecture we are learning tender and tender documents. What is tender, its necessity, then which are the types of tenders, then what are the points should be included while drafting a tender notice. Okay, so here we are learning a drafting tender notice. So this is the format, you can see here, this is the format while we write a tender. So the first one is here the example of writing a tender notice for construction of new girls hostel building in Government Polytechnic Nanded, costing rupees 2 crores to be invited in executive engineer, that is your PWD. Okay, so this comes your paper for 4 marks, for 8 marks, for write a tender notice. Okay, so how we write the tender notice? The first one, what is the point you have to see? First one is the name of the authority of inviting the tender notice. Okay, so here the table format we can type all the estimated cost, earnest money, security deposit and time. Okay, so let's start. First we write the tender notice number. Okay, then write a date, that is here you can took, this is the example, that is why here write 27/5/16 sealed with item rate tenders are invited from class 2 contractors registered in PWD for the work mentioned below. So in table format there is a work mentioned. So the first one, name of the work. Okay, then the estimated cost, what is the estimated cost, then what is the security deposit, then time. So estimated cost kitna hai, we have to given 2 crores. Then earnest money and security deposit, how we calculate it? In next definitions we can learn what is security deposit and what is earnest money. Okay, so in the percent of earnest money you have to calculate 5 to 10%, 1 to 2% of the total cost, that is 2 crore ka 1 to 2% nikala. So you have to got that earnest money, and the security deposit is 2 to 10% of the estimated cost. Okay, so you have to calculate this and write here. Then time of construction, for constructing this girls hostel you can took a time 24 months, 36 months, okay, 12 months including the monsoons. So the monsoon period is also included in that time period. Okay, then next we write the blank tender form is at not refundable cost rupees 1000. Okay, then it can be obtained from the secret office secretary Polytechnic Institute, that is timing you have to given 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the working hours of all working days except Sundays and holidays from the date 25 to 2. You have to write the last date, place and time of receipt, that is written here. Okay, then the tender will receive office of secretary up to 3 p.m. Okay, on the 2/6/16 and shall be opened in the same day. So 25 to 26 is the time of period while you filling that tender, filling that non-refundable cost of blank tender. Okay, so the tender will be open here, given the tender will be open is 2 to 6 2016. Okay, and then it shall be opened at the same day. So the end date of that tender, on that ending tender opening tender is also this the time you have to be given 4 p.m. in presence of contractors who may like to attend. So the presence of contractors you have to open that tender. Okay, then the authorities reserved the right to reject any or all tenders without assigning any reasons. Means authorities have give powers to reject the tenders. That points we learned in last chapter, right to reject the tender. So if there is no reason also, these authorities you have to reject your tenders. Okay, and whose tender are, who invited this tender, that is executive engineer, you have to given in this question. Okay, EE, that is executive engineers subdivisional building divisional PWD. Okay, so he is inviting, that is why in right side of this corner you are learning, you are writing executive engineer budget division. Okay, so this is your format of tender notice. Another one you can see here the draft a notice for boys hostel at your place 2.5 crore. Okay, so this is your paper question. Okay, so answer is, first you have to write the tender notice for public department, that is number, then date. Sealed item rate tenders form B2 are invited by executive engineer PWD division and form registered contractors class 3 for following works. So ये सब आपको लगने वाला है, वो सब लिखा है ऊपर. So this is your format. For serial number, name of the work, estimated cost, earnest money, then security. Earnest money कितना बोला मैंने, 1 to 2% of your estimated cost, and security is 2 to 10% of your estimated cost, and time of completion you have to write. सेम जैसे हम लोग ने लास्ट देखा, ब्लैंक टेंडर यू हैव टू बी नॉन रिफंडेबल, यू हैव टू राइट योर रुपीज हाउ मच यू हैव टू टेक. Then can be obtained by office executive engineer divisions up to date. Then during the working hours, on all working days except Sundays, holidays, these are the received executive engineer up to 3. So यहाँ पे आपको मेंशन करना है कि कितने टाइम में लेना है, कौन लेने वाला है, कितने टाइम तक वो रहने वाला है, सबमिशन का टाइम, देन कि कभी वो ओपन करने वाले हैं टेंडर, ये सब आपको मेंशन करना पड़ता है. सो शैल बी ओपन एट 4 PM इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स who may like attend. Then and the last line, the right reserves to reject any or all tenders without assigning any reasons. This is the important line to convey to told that contractor ki you are right, he has a right to reject the tenders, the authority has a rights. Okay, so that is a simple clarification. Okay, so and last one, executive engineer. Here right side of corner here write the executive engineer, because this executive engineer has to be invited this tender. Okay, see here, this is your newspaper tender. Okay, this type of tender is comes in daily newspaper. Various types of, there are lots of tenders comes in newspaper. You have to collect that tenders. Okay, you have to learn and that tenders and understand ki what has to be written, what has to be done. See, you can see here the tender are pay your property tax and water bills promptly, help us serve you better. So capital development authority का ये है. And then tenders are sealed, envelopes, percentage, ये सब लिखा रहता है, सील्ड करके देना है. And then below from the approval and listed contract CD and earnest money, देखो यहाँ पे तुम लोग को मेंशन किया है. सो अपग्रेडेशन ऑफ 4 नॉर्थ कोन मेकर पैसेंजर लिफ्ट्स कैबिनेट बिल्डिंग इस्लामाबाद. देन NIT कॉस्ट, मतलब टोटल कॉस्ट कितना है आपके प्रोजेक्ट का. देन अर्नेस्ट मनी हैज़ टू बी कैलकुलेटेड. देन टेंडर कॉस्ट, मतलब हमने देखा ये योर the blank tender cost, that is your tender cost, that is 2000. Then dates. Okay, then date and time where opening the tender and receiving the tender, you can write this also. Okay, and then received by the directional coordinational parliament house CDA, ये सब प्रॉपरली यहाँ पे मेंशन किया हुआ रहता है. Okay, the contractor, the last, earnest money is deposited by a company with complication with the application. Without earnest money no tender will be issued. Then check and cash will not be accepted. Then the application should purchase the tenders must bear name, address, signature, ये सब करके देना है उनको. Then registration certificate class with CDA. Then the authority letter from the contractor in favor of the person deputed contractor submitted, then the contractor formed must provide the documents are mentioned, that is clause 16, okay, CDA W6. Then contractor must show the experience for the similar, he has to experience some nature of work, cone make lifts, okay. So this is your CDA. यहाँ पे अभी now there is a इंटरनेट वर्ल्ड. सो यहाँ पे देखो मेल आईडी यहाँ पे दिया है www.caa.cda.government.uk. देन हु इज इनवाइटेड, डेप्यूटी डायरेक्टर, पार्लियामेंट हाउस, इस्लामाबाद, ओके. दिस इज योर न्यूज़पेपर टेंडर आर कमिंग daily. There are different types tenders. Now another one you can see here, that is the Ircon International Limited. So notice that is inviting tender for not for repairing, that is a inviting tender for 2 packets invited technical and civil works from builders up to 15 hours. फिर meeting qualifying requirement दिया है यहाँ पे. Then you have to given the name of the work, that is the supply of materials, submersible pumps, floor mounted floor panels, LT panels, okay. Then the construction of earthwork, embankment, good platform, road and ancillary works, okay. So completion period you have to be given, then estimated cost, then earnest money deposit and tender document, okay. Tender documents का cost भी दिया है. Further details are updated and please visit the tender section website. So in here they are saying that you go that website and check all and collect form from there, okay. And if any will be hosted on the website only, if there are any hosted website. And general manager of that Ircon International Limited, okay, इसने निकाला ये टेंडर. So this is your various types of tender, okay. So now in tender you can see earnest money deposit. So these are the terms used in your tender and tender documents, okay. So the first one is earnest money deposit. Now earnest money deposit means it is the initial deposit to be sent along with the tender. When you filling the tender or when you are filling the tender, this is the initial deposit has to be sent with your tender in order to show the interest of the contractor to secure the work. The amount of earnest money may be 1 to 2% of the tender documents, and the amount of certain remains in the safe custody of the department till the work is allotted to a particular contractor, and who will ask to deposit the further document as a security. If you got that tender, then this money is converted into security deposit, okay. So the earnest money of all unsuccessful contractors except 3 lowest contractors should be refunded within a week from the date of this receipt of the tender. If the earnest money is not cancelled, there will unnecessary a more competition, and the contractors having no good financial position also take a part, and thereby resulting in delay in competition of the work, okay. This amount does not carry any interest. If successful contractor fails to commence the work awarded to him, then his earnest money is forfeited to the government, okay. So earnest money is accepted in cash, DD, etc., okay. So this is your earnest money deposit. Now the next one is security deposit. So the security deposit is the tender. When the tender of a particular contractor is accepted, he asked to the deposit further amount with the department varying from 2 to 10%. So the estimated cost is total estimated cost 2 to 10% of the estimated cost. Then the earnest money of 1% with the department converted into security deposit, so that the contractor has to pay only 4%. If you have 5% of security deposit and you have accepting that tender, so 1% for your earnest money is included in that security deposit, okay. And you have to fill only 4% of the estimated cost as a security deposit. The security deposit serves as a security against the material machinery supplied by the department. If the contractor does not complete the work in time and in quality of work is inferior, then the security deposit is forfeited. It does not carry any interest. It can be converted into a interest bearing securities provided the contractor requests and department for the same in writing. Okay, so security deposit is refunded if the contractor after defect liability period is over. Okay, so this defect liability period we learn in next lecture. Now next one is validity period. So the validity period is the period within which the undertaking is required to enter into the contract with a successful tenderer. On expiry of validity period, the rates quoted in the tender are not binding upon the tenderer. Okay, if the tenderer did not agree to extend the same to enter into the contract with the successful tenderer. Okay, so validity period for a small projects is 30 days and the big projects is for 90 days. During the validity period, if a contractor to whom the tender is allotted wishes to withdraw the proposal, then his earnest money is forfeited. Okay, so this is your validity period. Okay, so there are more definitions comes in this tenders. Now the next one is right to reject the tender. So now what is right to reject tender? Rejecting the lowest tender. How we reject the lowest tender? Authorities, we learn ki authorities have rights to reject the tender. Then what rights? When the tender is not submitted particular form, then he reject. If the earnest money is required not enclosed, then he reject. Then when the contractor puts some conditions not acceptable to the department, then he reject. Then for bad reputation also he reject. If the tender is not signed by contractor, if any page is removed from the contractor, also he can reject. Okay, these are the rejects to all the tender. Then the lack of experience, if he has a lack of experience, then also the authorities has rejects. Then the lowest tenderer has to be quoted in very high rates than the estimated rate, then also he rejects. Then unforeseen things happen, then also has to rights to reject the all tenders. Okay, so this is the rights to reject the tenders. Thank you.